This lesson will help you identify correct adjective and adverb choices when asked to match them with corresponding nouns and verbs. To start, let's review a basic definition of adverbs. Adverb, by definition, are words that modify a verb, an adjective, another adverb, clause, or sentence. Adverbs answer questions about other words in a sentence. For example, how, when, where, why, in what way, how much, how often, under what condition, or to what degree. With few exceptions, the easiest adverbs to recognize are those that end in ly. Now let's go to the classroom and examine some examples and tips for choosing correct adverb and adjectives. Okay, now we have our definition of adverbs. Let's go ahead and take a look at how they're used on the test, and then we'll cover adjectives real quick and how they're going to be used on the test and which one to choose. So quickly, here's some tips for you about adverbs. First, when using a compound modifier, which is two or more describing words, you don't use a hyphen to link them. When you have an adverb ending in ly. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. You may be given a choice between two possibilities. The words recently hired teacher and then the incorrect recently hyphenated hired teacher. Once again, we're looking for that ly. So when you have that, you do not use a hyphen. So that's one tip to remember. You're probably going to see it on the test once, that there might be a hyphen in between there. You do not use it if you have an ly right before. Let's go to the next tip. A common error that shows up on the exam often is the misuse of the words well and good. Once again, you may have a question like this. Some of the practice tests seem to have it. What we're looking for is to remember that people do things well, not good. So if there's an action, like he played, all right, played being the action, it's always followed by well, not good. So whatever kind of action verb you have, try and remember, if I got an action verb, choice between well and good, it's always well. Let's go ahead and switch. A quick definition of adjectives. An adjective describes how something is. So for this reason, we usually use the verb to be when using adjectives. They're used to describe nouns. So knowing that adjective is how something is, we'll usually use the verb to be as stated, and look at how they go ahead and modify nouns. Here's a quick example. He is a conscientious doctor. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we find our noun, we find our verb, which is, and then we have a word right in front of it, conscientious, conscientious modifying doctor. So then it must be an adjective. A couple things about adjectives, though. Their placement is what you may be tested on the ACT. They're to be placed directly before the noun in a sentence, never behind it. For example, a happy wife leads to a good life. That one's correct. You know, you have your noun wife and you have the adjective happy right in front of it. It doesn't sound necessarily right either when you say it to yourself, a wife happy leads to a good life. You get the idea of what the sentence is meaning, but it's grammatically incorrect. You may see that as an option on the ACT. Also, use adverbs to tell how something is done instead of adjectives. Adverbs have the ly ending as a review there. So, for example, you walk slowly or you come quickly. These are verbs, right? So you want to use the adverb. And to signify that it's an adverb, you have that ly ending. You may hear walk slow or come quick in general conversation, but don't fall into that trap on the ACT. If you have a verb, go ahead and choose the choice that ends in ly. Now, to find the correct usage, a couple things you should ask yourself. First, is the word in question an adjective or an adverb? Where is it placed in the sentence is the second thing. From those two things, you should be able to determine the correct word choice and placement. You always want to make sure that adjectives are placed directly before the nouns and are not used to tell how something's done. Those are the two things that we just reviewed. Let's go ahead and look at an example. Every player on the field must know what to do in every situation. That's what makes the game of baseball a continually challenge. Just looking at that, it doesn't sound right. So no change doesn't really fit in very well. One of the things, we look at that ly. If it ends in ly, it should be an adverb. And where's the verb that continually is trying to modify Continually challenged doesn't work. Continuously has the exact same ly ending. We've determined that a challenge is a noun. It's modifying challenge. So the ly, not the right answer. Continual. We have our noun challenge, continual, describing that. It fits. Doesn't end in ly. So let's take a look at C as the most obvious answer. And we'll just double check and make sure continue doesn't fit. Continue being a verb form doesn't make sense at all. So we have our correct answer, which is C. If you notice an underlined adverb or adjective on the ACT exam, keep these quick tips in mind, and I'm sure you'll answer them correctly.